Welcome to the infinity container. Thank you, Noah. I've been really playing with this concept. What is an infinity container? How can the infinite be contained? To me, it's such a deep importance to our expanded state of consciousness. To me, the infinite is presence. It's truly the only thing we know to be infinite is presence. And if we feel into that expanded state of consciousness, that expanded awareness of presence, suddenly that infinite gets contained by our awareness. And it grows and it shrinks and it ebbs and it flows. But it's important because we typically live in a very fragmented way, in a busy way, in a fast way that cuts us off from that infinite connection. That is always present. It's always right there. So I wanted to give us space to tap into that, to tune into that with a little more depth, right? With a little more depth and awareness. And it's an integration space. What does that mean? And I'm curious, what does that word mean to you? If anyone wants to speak up and give a little definition to how they think of that word integration. It flies around the psychedelic space a lot. Some of you may have heard that word, some of you may haven't. It's learning to put something into our muscles, into our behavior, into our habit, which also can be driven by thought, changing thought patterns, changing belief systems. Yeah, into the cellular, into the molecular, right? Oftentimes, if we are playing with plant medicine, illumination comes in, and maybe some expansive realization comes in. That realization is only as potent as our capacity to live it in the body. We are earthlings. We are here on earth. And so we need to practice. And we need to literally give ourselves space to think about some of this and play with some of this. And even think about how you want to integrate something that's coming up for you. And right now, we're in the midst of eclipse season. Full disclosure, as all of you know, I am not an astrologer, but I sure feel how the relationship of us to other planets and other celestial beings affects our behavior. As a therapist, I see it in my practice. There's patterns that come up at certain times of the month, certain times of the year, and boy, am I seeing patterns right now. We have a solar eclipse on Monday. What does that mean? Have you all seen pictures of a solar eclipse? Everyone here knows what that looks like, yes? Right? There's darkness, right? The moon comes directly in alignment with the sun. And there's darkness. The moon blocks the light of the sun. But it's not total darkness. There's that ring around the outer edge because the sun is massive. Nothing can fully block the sun that we know of that's in our orbit. And so I want us to bring that image into consciousness because we're going to be playing with that a little bit today. And this theme around what that eclipse may be bringing up for you. You know, the moon is said to represent our feminine, the subconscious, our pain patterns, our childhood wounding, some of the stuff that we try to keep at bay while we're trying to live our lives. But there's suffering in that if we don't pay attention to it. This is a moment where we must pay attention. That's the goal of this moment. Pay attention. It's not about trying to shut down the subconscious, to turn away from memory or feeling. This is a moment to simply pay attention to it. If we don't pay attention to it, it takes over, actually. And it's the driving force to all our behavior, whether we're aware of it or we're not. That's why it's called subconscious. If we pay attention in this moment, because that subconscious is also getting illuminated and energized by the sun, right? When there's that alignment, the sun's energy is right there. And it's energizing all of that feeling, all of that subconscious patterning, all of the childhood wounding, all of what we learned and didn't learn, all of what we got to have nourishment in our development. And where there was a lack, it's getting energized right now. And if we pay attention to it, we can learn a lot about ourselves. A lot about ourselves. And maybe make some change. Maybe do some growing. In this moment, because of that, what I'm seeing in my practice, and I don't know if anyone else on this call was brought here today because of things they're experiencing and seeing themselves, but I'm seeing that we're in a bit of a healing crisis. People are in pain. The pain is up and out. It's swimming around. I spoke to someone yesterday. She recently lost a child. I spoke to a man yesterday, sometime this week. He said to me, it's been 18 months and I've been feeling sick every single day. Is that real? Is that real? Am I crazy? Am I making this happen? Every day I'm suffering. He's long COVID. There's a sense of heaviness. A lot of people are scared. But the beauty of a healing crisis and the beauty of these times where that subconscious energy is flying the fuck around, heroes are born. It's when people get to step up and participate and give love and give their presence and give some energy. And last night, when I was thinking about some of what was coming up for our call today, I was so I couldn't sleep. I was so energized. And I realized, oh my God, I have a lot to give. I want to give. Can I start the call now? I hope people come. I have so much to give right now. And I'm going through my own stuff. But I'm holding awareness and I'm learning and it's energizing me. It's energizing me. I'm excited by it. Oh, I can create change here. There's been a sense recently for me. I've been playing with this old pattern of I feel like I'm getting robbed. I feel like I'm getting robbed. I give and I give and I give and I'm getting robbed. How are you getting robbed if you're the one giving? Who's robbing you? You're giving. And I had this memory come up last night. I remember when I was about 19 years old and I was in my apartment in Washington, D.C. I was in college, undergrad. And I went away for the weekend and I was living in this building with this like gang of bike couriers. And we all partied together and we were kind of friendly, but they were also assuming a lot about me. There's this little white girl. She goes to college at GW. She must be very privileged. And I went to visit my grandparents for the weekend. And I came back and they'd broken into my apartment and moved in on top of my stuff. I remember I called my dad and I was like, Dad, what do I do? I don't know. What do you want me to do? I'm like, well, you're a couple hours away. Like, can you come help me? No. No. He said, no. What am I going to do? Some of you are aware of some of my work stuff right now. Felt like I was robbed. I had an ex recently go to my property upstate in New York and remodel my treehouse. Took it over as if it's his. What am I going to do? Called a real estate agent. I listed the property. Got some help from a friend. So I'm noticing this pattern of I'm being robbed. Something's always being taken away. Something's always being taken away. But instead of going into woe is me, I'm a victim to this pattern, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, okay, Victoria, what are you going to do? You're not a child. You have resources. Use them. And I'm telling you this story not to vent or have my group therapy session where everyone's listening to my woes. I'm telling you this story because there are big, big feelings that have been coming up. I'm in it with you. We're all in it together. And it's so important that we take a look at what's happening and what we're feeling. And if we could observe it, I'm telling you, choice comes in. If we get out of the panic of it, which is not easy to do, and sometimes it's sitting in the panic and breathing and moving the body in such a way that we could be with it more easily. Or coming to a space like this, or calling a friend, having someone there with you, holding your hand through it, quite literally, walking with the trees. How do we get connected enough that we can move with the emotion, not through it, right? The objective isn't to get it away. It's how do I be with this? It will pass. Everything does. Nothing is permanent. Nothing. And in this moment in time, if you're someone who feels, I have more to give right now. I have more to give. Give. This is your moment. Show up. Be caring. Offer love. Be present. Not just with self, with people in your life. I totally went off on my little tangent, but what I would love for us to do, and just to give you a little trajectory of the rest of the call, we're going to do a quick-ish go around. And I'll tell you the prompts for that in a moment. And then we're going to drop in. And we're going to give ourselves some time to feel. And then we're going to have time for a discussion where we get to call in whatever we're needing. We get to share whatever we're experiencing. We get to ask questions of each other and be of service, even just by holding presence and an open heart. So there'll be time for us to chat. In this time, the question that really has been coming up is how potent is your vitality right now? So I want you to just close your eyes, as some of you are doing, and just feel in for a moment. And I want you to ask yourself, as you're feeling into your heart, as you're feeling into your emotional body and its relationship with your physical body, On a scale of 1 to 10, how potent is your vitality today? 10 being, I am so awake and alive and energized. And even 0 being, I feel impotent. I feel really lacking, really tired, really in need. So feeling where you are on a scale of 1 to 10, and hold that number. I'm going to tell a quick story and then we're dropping in. I've been working with this client of mine for 6 years now. Constantly in comparison, constantly less than in the comparison. A lot of insecurity, a lot of insecurity. And part of it comes from, there was a moment in time when she was living in New York. She's now in the Bay. She's from the Bay, but during her 20s, she was in New York and working in fashion and killing it. Got a very high position at a very well-known brand. And she watched all these people around her in their 40s. She's in her 20s at this time. And she was like, they're all miserable. All of them. And overworked in that New York hustle. And she was like, I want to make a family. I want to go back to California. I want to make a family. And she did. The whole time. Well, what would have happened if I stayed? What would have happened if I stayed? And she's been frozen in fear for years. For years. And we've been talking about maybe her doing some journey work to help shift some things and give some more insight. But what we played with instead said, go get yourself some work in New York. Do it. Let's dive into this fear of the unknown of what if. And she did. She got a job at a really cool brand, part-time, flying back and forth. She's like, I'm going to go and do some more intense work this summer. I'm going to bring my family to New York. And she secured camp for her little one and an apartment for the summer. And she really got herself going and she's facing this fear and she's finding herself there. And she's in session one day and she said, you know, I'm meeting with the women who she's always comparing herself to. And she said, I'm hearing them differently. And I'm feeling their struggles. And I'm feeling the struggles that I have here in California. They're the same in New York. I was like, yeah, it's called being human, right? It's adulting. This is we are where we are. But I said, do you realize what's happening here? You're facing your fear. You're in it. You're doing it. You're putting muscle to it. And you're in a completely new dimension. You're not comparing anymore. You're listening. You're observing. The way she was talking, it was totally different. Totally different. It wasn't this insecure small space of, well, they have this and they have that and they're doing this and everyone over there is cultured and I don't have access to any of that. I don't have, right? That lack, that scarcity. Because she put herself back in it. She faced the fear. And it's miraculous what happens when we do that. Choice comes in. What Tereya just described, choice comes in. I don't have to say that to myself anymore. I don't have to think about when I break an object that that's it. You're done. You fucked up. I don't have to think that way anymore. Emotion is a portal where you get to access a whole other realm of existence when we let ourselves in.